sometimes when they come from big markets like Florida and what they can get for the price here, oh my God, this building is really old. I don't have the amenities. They're so used to like brand new construction. So it's like, no, it doesn't make sense. Well, that's, yeah, supply and demand, right? It's the old formula.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Annie. It's nice to speak to you.
Likewise, I'm honored to be here early 7:30 with a little coffee.
Exactly. Tell me a little bit about yourself, first of all, and we'll get into how your background in luxury retail and high end retail relates to what we're doing here.
Yes, I have been here in the Roaring Fork Valley for 28 years now. It's been a long time. I used to be a corporate flight attendant in my homeland of Brazil, one of the first in the country. So it was a long time ago. And I came to one of the trips for actually for a ski trip. Um, and then really fell in love with the area and decided there might be a time for a change at the time. And I'm still here.
Brilliant. Where in Brazil are you from?
Porto Alegre,
Porto Alegre. What state of Brazil is that in then? Is it Minas
Rio
Gerais?
Grande do Sul.
Porto do
No,
Sul.
no, Rio Grande
Okay.
do Sul. Yeah,
Further south.
way south.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
I'm
Okay.
really on the border of
Of
Uruguay and
Uruguay.
Argentina.
Okay. And then you got into retail, right?
Yes, I got into retail, high-end retail, and in sales. And from that, I spent almost 20 years in high-end retail. So it was a successful career because, of course, when you do a good job in a small town, the word gets out, right? And then I got, of course, approached by different brands. So I kept like increasing my salary and different opportunities. So that was I did, and I even moved to New York for a couple of years to open a high-end brand on Madison Avenue, which was very unique because usually they don't invite people from a small market like Aspen, but it was because it was luxury market. I had advantage, and they're not finding anybody in New York City that they like. So that was a great opportunity to go in New York and do that. And then, but they came back. Aspen was calling back. I really miss going out for hikes and the small town feel. New York is great, but it's busy, and I realized that I like better smaller communities close to, of course, out the access, but not being in a big city anymore.
Yeah. We're going to talk a bit more about you and how you guide your second home buyers through the Aspen market.
Yes, definitely. Education, it's always number one, right? Because it's all teaching about the different areas, neighborhoods, and the options. It just depends what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Because some families prefer really ski in, ski out, or everybody's a little different on their priorities list. So it's really education and okay, how to maintain a home and property management because it is cold here. So it needs to have someone, even if they don't come, to overseeing the property because things happen in the cold weather, right? As we know. And so navigating logistics as well, just education, and of course the high-end retail really helped me to translate that because you anticipate the needs of the clientele as well. It really is incredible because, the discipline of working for big corporations and in high-end retail, the storytelling, the design aspect. So just understanding the market.
Sure. That's that is interesting, and I think that we are in a high-end retail world, although we're not selling things that can be replicated. So in high-end retail, maybe there are beautifully crafted items, but they are generally produced for a larger market. And our homes here are very much unique. And I think people who buy homes know this, but I think sometimes imagine that there's more out there than there really is. So people have an idea of something, and then, it's sometimes your job or mine to help them fit their notion of what it is that they really want with what is actually available or what is even possible. So, and the numbers are
Yeah, the
fine.
shock.
I mean,
Interesting about the shock, right? Sometimes when they come from big markets like Florida and what they can get for the price here, oh my God, this building is really old. I don't have the amenities. They're so used to like brand new construction. So it's like, no, it doesn't make sense. Well, that's, yeah, supply and demand, right? It's the old formula. And because of our restrictive building codes and protected land, we have very limited amount. It's not like any big centers out there. They keep building and not doesn't happen here. So that put us in a different category for sure. Besides the beauty and the arts and culture, we do have limited inventory.
very true. Very true. And I think you hit on something very important there, that there's a sticker shock as well, that people can be, when they see how expensive things are compared to the markets that they are already familiar with. It can sometimes take, well, I've known people to take years, to come to terms with this. I mean, that they get here and we look at things and they think, well, maybe there's a big correction in the market coming, or maybe, and they're kind of bargaining with themselves that they will be able to get what they want, but it's not just yet. And then it takes time for people to accept, what is the market
Yes,
here, because it
it's
is
education,
very
right?
expensive. Yeah.
You look into the stats and the price per square foot, but that not necessarily translate, because like sometimes we have, if you look into the market and you look into a couple big sales, they can totally change the stats of, a couple of $40 million sales is like, oh my God,
The
this market is
whole
crazy. So it, yeah.
Absolutely. No, no, this is another really good point, is that if we're looking at statistics, we have such small sample sizes, right? Because we're dealing with, a very limited market. So you have two or three $40 million sales, and all of a sudden, the comps that we have, our best comparable information, has completely changed from 2 weeks beforehand, when two less sales happened. So a tiny, two transactions, high dollar transactions, can completely change the whole sort of outlook on the market, because we're dealing with these extremely high dollar purchases, particularly during COVID, when some of these properties, which were unique legacy properties that maybe had taken a year or more to try to sell, were flying off of the shelves, and people were coming in and paying close to, or even sometimes above, the full asking price for things. And then of course the whole dynamic of what our sort of market looks like can change with just a handful of transactions.
Yes, so it's really, it cannot be compared to just a couple months. We have to really look in the last like 6 months or a year, and like because it's not um, an easy comparison. That's why even to list it, and looking into the price per square foot and how unique every home is, it sometimes it falls away from the formula that other markets do.
Yeah, often, right? I mean, we're the overriding lifestyle factors are so much greater than the hard numbers of square footage and lot size and year that something was built and how many heating zones you have and all of these sorts of things. That if people dig deep into their knowledge of um, real estate pricing in other markets, these factors are sometimes completely blown away by lifestyle factors, which can be more important and more valuable than any of the other factors that we would usually consider. So really super interesting. Thanks. International buyers, you've touched on your, obviously your background. I saw in your on your website that you had a recommendation written by somebody in Spanish. And I know you speak Portuguese and I know you speak Spanish, but it was interesting to see that perhaps, you had worked with them speaking in Spanish or, maybe have you found that has been helpful with other than Brazilians?
Yes, absolutely. When I transitioned from a high-end retail management to real estate, I had this great idea at the time, which was 9 years ago, of I knew that there was a lot of Spanish speaking in that actually lived in the area that having a hard time, navigating through the process. I was living in the Mid Valley at the time, and I saw the opportunity. How do you break into the real estate market with, over 800 brokers, right, in the area? And I'm like, what can I use in my advantage? It's my language skills. So I had this idea, and at the time I brought up to my managing broker, okay, I think I'm going to start looking into the local market, and that hasn't been paid attention. We had like over 35% that spoke Spanish that live in a valley. So I started doing advertisement in Spanish, in the radio, actually. No podcast at the time, but in the radio. And that's how I started in real estate, and it was very successful. I built instant clientele because to just navigating through the mortgage process, the qualifying, and get them, aware of how does it work, help a lot of families. And then from that, I moved into back to Aspen. Then I decided to focus on the high end market as well, but I still have local. And how I got in touch is, again, it's always like it's a small town, and I also was an ambassador in Snowmass.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, yes,
I think I
so I
did
did
know
that
that.
for
Yeah.
yeah, I did that for 6 years, and giving out tours in the mountains, and it's just recommendation, really the old fashioned way, and people that oh, I know someone that speaks the language, that has helped tremendously. So I have really Brazilians and South Americans clients, and some people were successful, but I never encourage people to buy a property to just like, how about if I'm not selling a couple years, like who knows,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it could be worthwhile. It's impossible to predict how much you can, but sometimes it is possible. But I always advise on a long-term investment that's been proven as it's pretty solid. And legacy, right? It's the lifestyle that really brings people here. It's not so, it's like, well, I'm gonna leave this house for my children, and it's a tradition and it's a lifestyle, really, um, that brings more and keeps the clients here. It's really the privacy, um, how safe it is, and um, they have everything on their outreach in terms of activities to do summer and winter, we are becoming like a year-round market now. We used to be more focused on skiing, but our summers are so strong now, which is even proven as a really good investment, because if you're not here, you can rent your property, because in the shoulder seasons, the fall is gorgeous. So we're getting a much more rounded market, which in the past used to be exclusive and more focused on the winter, not so much
True.
anymore.
Yeah, no, that's one of the really big changes, isn't it, of the last 10 or so years, is that we used to have, a winter market, which was the sort of leader of our, markets that would bring more business, more people into town. And in the last decade, we've really seen a lot of people who come for the whole summer and coming up from places where it's a bit hotter, Texas and Florida, to get out of the heat. So we've really seen a big increase, and it's driving the market. And those people tend to be here for a longer period of time for each stay. Ski vacations are a week or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks if it's a long one. But really, the summertime people tend to come and summer here. So they spend a month or 2 months or more. And that kind of leads into people raising their families here and all of that. So it's a different market, which has proven to be very important to our real estate market. Can you talk to us about that quickly?
Yes, definitely. It's client experience, like the high. It's client experience and anticipation of their needs is the, curated photography. Um, it's just, um, it's like a fantasy, like you building a desire, right? Um, and that's pretty much translates to the real estate market. It's the same with with videography, the photography, the storytelling of the property. That translate directly, absolutely. So you want to be part of the world,
Yeah,
creating that desire.
I love it. Thank you so much. Anything that you would like to wrap up with about where you think the market is headed? I mean, and I know that you were very sort of circumspect about this. You said, look, we don't know, what's going to happen in the next year, right?
So it is. There's more listings on the market. The buyers are not in a hurry. They are really taking their time. The world economy and instability is just like they're watching, right? So of course pricing is still they're very aware of, okay, the seller out there from COVID era that think they can get X amount is realizing that it's changing. So we are seeing a little correction going on. Nothing crazy, it's not that it's taking time longer in the market, but if you have the right price, a good product, a turnkey, and in a perfect, great location, it definitely the buyer will come. It's just taking a little longer, and I see as a trend, like it's we're seeing a little slower than normal market right now, but. It just depends also what's happening worldwide. And our buyers are here for the lifestyle, and that hasn't changed, right? So, and more, you want to be in a safe place um, with so much instability out there that you can have a sense of normalcy, and we are in a perfect market for it. So it's still, again, it's the old formula, supply demand. It's limited, and so I see still, of course, growth in our market, but conservatively speaking right now, and people are here for the long term investment, so it's not going to change.
Cool. That is very well put and very interesting. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you getting up so early in the morning to talk to me about real estate. And I have been a fan of your career, and I love to see your successes, and I celebrate every one of them for you. So, congratulations, and thanks again for coming on and talking to me.
Thank you. Yeah, have a great day and have fun out there in the
You
mountains.
know it. I will. I will do that.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks again for listening. For more insider tips and Aspen stories, hit subscribe. Like what you heard enough to share it with somebody? Please go ahead. See you next time. Thank you.